Have you ever believed that if you were just kind enough, patient enough, loving enough, then the narcissist would shed their cold, selfish mask and reveal the real person you dream they could be? That a little bit of your goodness could light up the black hole inside their soul? If you've ever thought that way, don't beat yourself up. Thousands have fallen for the same sweet trap. They walked into the relationship with an open heart, only to be shattered by a brutal truth. To a narcissist, your kindness isn't a light to be cherished, it's bait. They don't crave your compassion to grow. They crave control to inflate their ego until it's a balloon ready to burst. And the worst part? They weaponize your sincerity, using it to tighten the strings of a manipulation game you were never meant to win. In this video, I'll expose a harsh paradox you need to carve into your mind. Being nice will never change a narcissist, but cutting their strings with clarity and strength just might set you free. Don't forget to subscribe and share your story in the comments. I want to dive into this chaos with you. A narcissist's mind doesn't work like ours. Do you know what the biggest mistake most victims of narcissists make is? It's the illusion that if they're kind enough, patient enough, understanding enough, one day the narcissist will come around, that they'll finally see you with gratitude and real love. You hold on to that hope, you wait, you try, only to find that your heart is slowly being suffocated by that very naivety. The harsh reality is this: a narcissist doesn't process kindness like you do. Your compassion isn't a warming flame, it's a green light for them to trample you. To them, your gentleness isn't a gift, it's a weakness to exploit, a signal to tighten the leash. Understand this clearly. Narcissists do not live for connection, they survive on power. In their distorted world, relationships aren't about mutual sharing. They are battlegrounds to be won at all costs. Every time you shrink yourself, smile and forgive, or sacrifice to make them happy, you are not earning their love. You are confirming their belief that you are easy prey, that you're someone who will kneel so they can stand taller. They don't respect kindness. They despise it. Because in their world, strength means domination, and compassion is a sign of weakness, unworthy of respect. The times you apologize for things that weren't your fault, those weren't your failures. They were their victories. They used your goodness against you. They made you question your worth. They convinced you that you had to work harder to deserve their warped version of love. But here's the truth you need to face. You cannot change someone who has no intention of changing. They don't need you, love. They need you to feel important, to feed off your pain, to assert control. So stop blaming yourself for being too good. Your kindness isn't weakness, it's strength. You just gave it to the wrong person. Your value isn't in making them happy, it's in standing tall and saying, I deserve better than this. When you walk away from their game, you don't just gain freedom, you awaken a stronger version of yourself. One who doesn't need anyone's approval to know they are worthy. Be clear, be steady, and begin that journey today. Stop confusing kindness with fear. Have you ever wondered why you kept trying to please a narcissist, even when your heart was bleeding and your spirit was exhausted? People call it kindness, but let's be honest, it's not. It's fear. Fear of upsetting them, fear of being abandoned, fear of facing the emptiness they leave behind. If you dare to walk away, that's not noble virtue. It's an invisible rope they use to bind you. It's the weapon they wield to keep you in their grip. And narcissists, masters of manipulation, can smell that fear. In your trembling apologies, in your pleading eyes, craving validation, they feed on it, they twist it, they turn you into a puppet that dances to every tug of their strings. But here's the secret they don't want you to know. Narcissists don't fear your kindness, they fear your indifference. It's not your tears, your begging, or your silent sacrifices that make them retreat. It's the moment you stop reacting, stop arguing, stop trying to prove yourself. When you draw a boundary with cold, steady eyes and walk away without turning back, that's when they truly panic. Why? Because your indifference shatters the manipulation cycle they built so carefully. They need you to ache. They need you to flail. They need you to get swept up in their chaos so they can stay at the center holding power. But when you refuse to play, when you stop reflecting their inflated ego, they lose direction, like an addict cut off from their supply. Picture this. You don't cry when they ghost you. You don't flinch when they threaten you. You don't soften when they suddenly beg for forgiveness. You simply place your boundary. I will not accept this anymore. And you walk To them, it's not just a rejection, it's a direct blow to the core of their existence. They don't fear being hated, they fear being unneeded, unwanted, irrelevant. Your indifference is the sharpest blade. It cuts the strings they use to control you. It exposes their truth. They're not strong. They're fragile, not powerful, but dependent. So hollow that they need your pain to feel full. So stop mistaking fear for kindness. Don't be nice because you're scared to lose them. Be kind to yourself because you deserve freedom. Your worth doesn't lie in their acceptance, it lies in your own. When you learn to be indifferent to their games, you don't just survive, you win. You reclaim your life. You build a future free from manipulation, and you finally start living not for them, but for you. Don't think your kindness can save the relationship. Do you believe that keeping the peace is how you survive the storm that is a narcissist? That if you just hold on a little longer, avoid conflict just a bit more, swallow your tears one more time, they'll finally recognize your sacrifice and change? That's a deadly illusion. When you grit your teeth and endure just to keep the calm, you're not a hero maintaining harmony, you're enabling their cruelty. Every time you stay silent after they insult you, every time you pretend you're fine while they stomp on your self-worth, you're sending them a clear message. Go ahead. I won't resist. You're not melting their heart. You're inflating their ego, reinforcing their belief that they can treat you like garbage and never face consequences. The peace you're preserving isn't peace, it's a prison you've built with your own hands. Wake up. Those nights you lay curled up, wondering what you did wrong to deserve their coldness, those days you bent over backwards just to get a reluctant nod of approval, they're all proof that you've fallen into the trap they so carefully laid. A narcissist doesn't care about harmony. They care about how low you'll bow, how much pain you'll tolerate before you break. To them, your patience isn't strength. It's an open invitation to dig deeper into your wounds. The more you try to keep things peaceful, the more you hand them the whip to strike you without fear of consequence. They don't get worse because you're not good enough. They get worse because you allow it. Real freedom doesn't come from trying one more time to prove your worth. It doesn't come from apologies you never owed or the validation you'll never receive from them. You can't make a narcissist respect you by kneeling longer or hurting more. That's the illusion they want you to believe. The only way to break the chains is to stop playing by their distorted rules. Set your boundaries. Not to negotiate, but to declare, I do not accept this. Be ready to walk away, not in hopes they'll chase you, but with the conviction that you don't need their permission. To know you're worthy, they're not the standard by which your value is measured. You are the one holding the pen that defines who you are. When you can leave without looking back, without needing an apology or a remorseful glance, you're not just breaking free, you are being reborn. You reclaim your autonomy, your right to live without fear or self-doubt. Your worth doesn't lie in their recognition, it lives in your ability to stand tall, look in the mirror and say, I am enough. That's the moment when you don't just break their chains, you build a new, stronger version of yourself. One that no longer waits for happiness to be granted because you've already given it to yourself. Stop keeping peace with those who don't deserve it. Start fighting for the peace within you. Your way out starts with you. Haha. Have you ever thought that if you could just find the right way, if you were just a little more patient, a little more understanding, the narcissist would finally change? That they would look at you with gratitude, stop the twisted manipulation, and become the person you hoped for? If so, stop right now, because here's the truth. You're chasing a ghost that doesn't exist. The solution isn't in fixing them. They don't want to change, and more importantly, they can't. The real solution lies in changing yourself, not to please them, but to liberate yourself from the pit they pulled you into. This is not a battle for the faint of heart, but if you're willing to rise, you will discover real freedom, not from them, but from within. Step 1, stop reacting emotionally. I know it's hard. When they hurl cruel words, when their silence makes you feel invisible, your heart screams to respond, to explain, to be understood. But every time you cry, argue, or beg, you hand them a dose of fuel, a confirmation that they still have control. They feed on drama, on your tears, your rage, your confusion. So grit your teeth, take a deep breath, and refuse to be baited into their emotional trap. Your silence is not weakness, it's your most powerful weapon. It robs them of their sick satisfaction. Step 2, stop seeking their approval. Have you ever wondered why you crave validation from someone who never truly sees you? Why you wait for praise from someone who only loves themselves? It's because they planted the lie that your worth depends on their approval, a cruel deception you unknowingly believed. But here's the truth. You don't need them to know your worth. They are not the judge of your life. They are just insecure people who clung to you to hide their own emptiness. And every time you stop waiting for their permission to feel whole, you reclaim a piece of your soul they tried to steal. Step 3, redefine your self-worth. You've spent too long looking at yourself through their distorted lens, a mirror that only reflects what they want you to believe, not good enough, not worthy, not lovable. Now is the time to shatter that mirror and redraw your own reflection. Who are you beyond their criticism? How strong are you for still standing after all they've tried to break? Your worth isn't in how well you please them. It's in your quiet resilience, in the compassion you kept even when they tried to crush it. Rewrite your story not as a victim, but as a warrior who walked through the dark and came out brighter. Step 4, strengthen your boundaries. Don't hesitate to draw the line, not to negotiate, not to ask for permission, but to declare, this is my limit. I will protect it. They'll scream, blame, play the victim. Don't waver. Boundaries aren't selfish. They're self-respect. Every time you say no and mean it, you send a message. The game is over. They'll test you, push you, but every time you hold firm, you lay another brick in the wall of your freedom. Step 5, step out of the cycle. This is the hardest part, but the most important. You cannot heal while standing in their line of fire. This might mean reducing contact, going no contact, or simply refusing to let your mind get dragged back into their game. They'll try to pull you in through sweet words, silent punishment, or veiled threats, because losing you means losing their narcissistic supply. But remember this, you owe them nothing, not an explanation, not a second chance, not another tear. Walking away isn't running, it's choosing yourself. It's choosing a life where you're no longer a puppet to someone who only loves their own reflection. This journey is not easy. There will be nights you question yourself, days you long to go back just to end the emptiness. But every step you take, you're not just leaving them, you are being reborn. You learn to love yourself, not because someone else says you're lovable, but because you finally know you are. You discover true strength, not in changing them, but in changing how you see yourself. Freedom isn't something they give, it's something you claim, little by little, with determination, courage, and the love you choose to give yourself. Start today. Stop reacting, stop waiting, stand up and take back your life. This isn't just how you survive a narcissist, it's how you come home to yourself, stronger, wiser, unshakable. You are not alone in this fight. Subscribe to the channel, share your story, and let's tear down the invisible chains they've wrapped around you for far too long. You deserve that, not because they say so, but because you already are, unrepeatable, resilient, and ready to live free. You deserve to be happy. Don't blame yourself for once putting your trust in a narcissist, for opening your heart and believing that your kindness could reach the good in them. You were not naive. You were not weak. You were someone who dared to love, who dared to hope, and who gave the most beautiful parts of yourself without calculating the cost. And that, even if it left you hurt or betrayed, was never a sin. You entered that relationship with sincerity they could never comprehend. With a wide open heart, they only knew how to crush. But don't let their cruelty make you question your own worth. You weren't wrong for believing in love. They were wrong for turning it into a game of manipulation. Don't look back on the past with regret or self-reproach. The nights you cried yourself to sleep, the days you doubled your effort only to be met with silence or criticism, those were not signs of your failure. They were proof of a journey you walked through with trembling legs and a shattered heart. Don't count your scars and wonder if only I had done things differently, or if only I had seen it sooner. The past is not a sentence hanging over your head. It's the old skin you shed to become someone stronger, sharper, wiser. The mistakes you made are not burdens, they are lessons. The fire that forged a version of you who can love without blindness, who can give without losing yourself. And from now on, don't let your kindness become bait for those who only know how to take. Kindness is a treasure. It is the warm flame within you, but it is not something to be scattered at the feet of those who see it only as a tool for manipulation. The narcissist taught you a costly lesson. Not everyone is worthy of your softness. Not everyone knows how to meet your sacrifice with sincerity. They used your kindness as a rope to bind you, as a ladder to climb higher while pushing you further down. But now it's time to change, not by becoming cold or closed off, but by learning to give your kindness wisely to the right people at the right time. Start by giving it to yourself. You've spent too long trying to please someone who was never satisfied. Now, turn inward and heal the wounds they left behind. Be kind to yourself by saying no when needed, by walking away from those who only drain you. Kindness is not blind surrender. It is strength when you know how to protect it. You don't need to play the savior, especially not for those who don't want to be saved, who only want to drag you into their emptiness. So stand tall. Let go of the self-blame. Walk forward with a heart no longer available for exploitation. You don't have to carry the weight of what is past. Leave it behind like a chapter you finished reading. The future is yours, not theirs. You deserve a life where your kindness is met with respect, where the love you give is not twisted into control. Move forward with a soul that knows how to love without giving up its freedom, how to give without being emptied. The past is a lesson, but the present is your power. Your power to choose how you live, how you love, and how you honor yourself. Stop looking back, look in the mirror, and see someone who made it through the darkness, ready to shine by their own light.